The Money Fronts DLC has officially dropped, and with it we have new vehicles, including a spicy new Sentinel that'll turn heads at any car meet. We have almost all the wild drip feed vehicles available for purchase at this point. Some of these are proper curveballs. Now, your very own Old Grumpy Gamer has been testing all the new cars from the Money Fronts update and drip feed, and oh boy, do I have some surprises to share. So stick around, because some of these new rides, yeah, they're not quite what you'd expect. The grotty LSCM Cheetah Classic has finally joined GTA Online as part of the Money Fronts DLC. For fans of the original Cheetah Classic, this wide-body variant brings a fresh twist. Now, you can pick it up from Legendary Motorsports for $1,950,500. With the LSCM badge slapped on the side, it's a clear one aimed squarely at the Los Santos car meet crowd. This car shows cruise nights, drift-inspired builds, not just another relic to collect dust next to your rusty Futo. This wasn't a full overhaul, but the wide-body kit is a big standout here. It gives the car a much more aggressive stance than the regular Cheetah Classic, more hips than a 90s boy band, and just to clarify, the stock livery is removable. There's no other options, it's just on or off. But at least Rockstar learned something from the Jester RR debacle. Now, the design still channels the Ferrari Testarossa, but this LSCM version leans more to a tuner style than an 80s exotic. Less Miami Vice, more midnight drift meet behind the casino. The customization options, though, are nearly non-existent. There's no livery options aside from removing the stock one, and barely any notable visual mods beyond the wide body. So if you're hoping to go wild at the mod shop, you're going to be disappointed. Performance-wise, it's still a sports classic, and it handles like one. It's a bit floaty, slow steering response, and the rear end can go from planted to wobbly without much warning. The wide body doesn't really fix any of that. It feels kind of like you're piloting an 80s arcade cabinet on wheels. Top speeds clock in at 119 miles an hour, around about 192 kilometers an hour. On the upside, handling does feel a bit snappier than the regular Cheetah, giving it a slight performance edge, but that's really the only upside here. Final thoughts though, the LSCM Cheetah Classic sounds like a Ferrari and looks sharp, but that's about where the excitement ends. When you can pick up the regular grotty Cheetah for under 800 grand and get way more customizations, it's hard to justify the price tag on this one. Unless you're collecting every wide body in the game, it's probably a pass. If you're in it for the retro vibes and the rare variant status, yeah, go ahead and grab one. But if you want something that corners like it's on rails, yeah, maybe keep scrolling. The Brute Stockade Bobcat Security has officially rolled into GTA Online too, and it's about as subtle as a brick through a storefront. Priced at $2,440,500, this big lump of steel was first spotted all the way back in GTA 5's prologue, and now it's finally drivable in GTA Online. It's classed as a Pegasus vehicle too, so don't expect to summon it from your garage. You'll have to call it in the old school way. Now, let's be clear, this is a commercial class vehicle and it is not here for style points. There are zero customization options. No respray, no wheels, no livery. You're not turning it into a sleeper. What you see is very much what you get. And what you get is a truck that looks like it could take a warhead to the bonnet. But in practice, not so much. Handling is exactly what you'd expect from something shaped like a brick and weighed down with false promises. It's slow, it's clunky, and it turns like it's wading through quicksand. Top speed clocks in at just 85.75 miles an hour. That's 138 Ks. Not tragic for its size, but not exactly breaking any records either. And the armor seems to be purely decorative. It can't take an RPG, the windows aren't bulletproof, and despite the heavy-duty looks, it offers zero real protection. It's a tank in silhouette only. Interestingly, Rockstar's included a winter variant in the game files, which might hint to a future event or some seasonal nonsense. So if you're building an RP fleet or running a security crew, there might be a place for it. But let's not sugarcoat it. The final verdict, look, the Stockade Bobcat Security is overpriced, overbuilt, and functionally useless. It looks tough, but isn't. It's slow, it's unprotected, and does absolutely nothing to justify the price tag. Unless you're collecting it for a novelty, or just love RPing as a mall cup on steroids, this one's an easy skip. Then again, that's exactly why some people are going to love it. It doesn't try to be cool, it doesn't try to be clever, it's just big, loud, and unapologetically brute. And if your vibe is battering ram with a badge, you'll feel right at home. The D-Class Walton L35 stock version has also landed in GTA Online, and for once we've got a build that isn't trying to drift, slam, or cosplay as a street racer. Priced at $1,303,700 and classed as an off-roader, this is the grounded, no-nonsense counterpart to the tail-happy Drift Walton. No camber, no smoke, just pure old-school truck. Design-wise, it keeps it simple, and that's not a bad thing. The stock ride height actually suits it really well, but if you're after a more aggressive stance, the race suspension option drops it lower without turning it into a bumper scraper. Now, where the L35 really shines is the customization. There's a good range of liveries, bumpers, roof racks, roll cages, and lighting accessories. The liveries especially lean into that rugged workhorse look, and the roof rack lights and bull bars, perfect if you want to go for a bit of a hunting truck vibe. You can even modify the bed and tailgate, actual functional changes, which is a welcome surprise. Everything works as expected except the snorkel. That's just for look, so don't go diving with it, yeah? On the road, it starts off a bit floaty with the default setup, but drop it onto race suspension and it tightens up nicely. It becomes surprisingly capable as a street-friendly off-roader, making it a flexible base for builds. Handling isn't mind-blowing, but it's stable enough to enjoy daily and free roam. It makes a solid street truck, but don't expect it to dominate any hardcore off-road trails. The lowered stance and the soft suspension limit how far off the beaten path you'll get. The only nitpick is the wheels look a bit small for that big old truck body. Some players will love the retro vibes, others will want to try and swap them the moment they hit the mod shop. It's not a showstopper. It's not a headline car, but it sounds good, and with a top speed of 108 miles per hour, roughly 174 Ks, it's got enough poke to make cruising through free mode a proper vibe. If you're into clean builds, utility style, or just want something refreshingly unpretentious, this is it. Sometimes less really is more. And in the case of the Walton L35 stock, it's more than earns its place in the garage. The debauchy Rapid GTX has landed, and it is doing its absolute best to be the new gentleman's weapon of choice in the sports class. It's sleek, sharp, and it's wearing that Aston Martin DNA like it paid extra just to show off. It'll set you back a cool $2,705,500 from Legendary Motorsport, which firmly puts it in the "are you sure about this" bracket when it comes to price. That's not just car money, that's I could have started a business money. But the design, whew, absolute class. It's rocking that classic Grand Tourer silhouette. Long nose, short tail, and the kind of shape that makes you want to throw on some leather gloves and start calling things bespoke. The detailing's tight, the profile's clean, and it honestly looks like something a Vinewood exec would park across two spots and then smirk about. Customization, actually not too shabby either. You've got a few front grille options, some solid exhaust upgrades, a standout squadron livery that adds just enough flair without ruining the clean lines. It's not a Benny's car, sure, but what's there is tidy and well organised. Now, performance-wise, yeah, it delivers. It's quick off the mark, smooth on the gears, and honestly feels better on the road than most of Debauchy's other offerings. There's a touch of oversteer, but the fun kind, the sort that keeps things lively through the corners without making you feel like you're constantly about to bin it. Top speeds are respectable 122 miles an hour or just under 197 Ks, which puts it up there with the better picks in the sports class. Plenty fast enough for a flex through Vinewood Hills or a cheeky run down the highway. Handling is sharp but not twitchy. It bites into corners nicely with enough grip to feel confident without going numb. It's not going to dethrone the Itali GTO anytime soon, but it still makes an impression. It's kind of like a well-tailored suit. Not flashy, but turns heads for all the right reasons. Bottom line, the Rapid GTX is a proper contender if you want something stylish, with a bit of bite. It's fast, it's clean, it's genuinely fun to drive, and finally gives debauchery a reason to smile again. Just maybe don't check your Maze bank account immediately after you buy it. You'll only upset yourself. The Karen Everon RS is what happens when Rockstar takes your favourite off-road beast and bolts on a street racer attitude. It's aggressive, it's angular, and it's about as subtle as a tuned-up truck doing donuts in the middle of a car meet. You can pick it up for $1,665,000 over at Southern San Andreas Super Autos. And honestly, that feels pretty fair for what you're getting. Now, visually, it's unmistakably an Everon. Big body, boxy silhouette, and more flared arches than a Tokyo Drift Festival. But the RS version ditches the off-road kit in favour of a leaner, meaner stance. No roof racks, no bull bars. This thing looks like it came straight from a rally stage, not a logging trail. And honestly, it looks best at the stock suspension height. It keeps the aggressive posture without overdoing it. Customization is actually surprisingly solid. You've got options for grills, rear diffusers, roof scoops, and a nice variety of liveries to play with. There are 2 bash bar options that make for a very mean looking front end. Spoilers, yes, spoilers on a truck, are also surprisingly plentiful, and there's real potential here for some proper head turning builds. Performance wise, it's quick, like properly quick for a truck. It's got all-wheel drive too, so traction's rock solid, even when you're hammering it out of a corner. It corners well for something this size. Yeah, there's a bit of body roll, but nothing you wouldn't expect from a truck that's still sitting a bit tall. Top speed clocks in at 108.75 mile an hour, or bang on 175 k's. Not exactly blistering, but absolutely solid for this class. Off-road though, don't get your hopes up. That lower stance and the rally-tuned setup means we're not here for climbing Mount Chiliad. It's built for grip and pace on the tarmac, not boulder hopping through the woods. The final verdict, the Everon RS is for players who love off-road DNA but live in the city. It's a bit niche, yeah, but it absolutely pulls it off. It's rugged, it's refined, and just a little bit ridiculous in the best way possible. The uber-marked Sentinel GTS is here to prove that sometimes subtle upgrades can make a big impact, especially when you slap that GTS onto a fan favourite coupe and crank the price past $2 million. This one will set you back $2,172,000 outright, or $1,629,000 if you manage to unlock the trade price. Either way, it's a serious chunk of change for a car that looks, at first glance, a lot like a regular Sentinel Classic. But let's not judge the Beamer by its badge. The GTS has a more aggressive bodyline, a wider stance, and just enough I go to track days energy to separate it from its older sibling. Think of it like the M3 of the GTA universe. It's sharper, it's leaner, and trying very hard to justify its premium. Customization's a bit of a mixed bag. While there are plenty of spoiler options and some great fender upgrades, the front bumper options are a bit, well, disappointing. On the upside, the exhausts look great, and the fender designs really give the car some visual muscle. Unfortunately, the livery selection lacks the iconic M3 style graphics you might expect from a car being so clearly inspired by BMW's finest. Performance-wise, this thing delivers. It's rear-wheel drive, which makes it a total blast to throw sideways. You can pull crazy drifts around corners, and the handling genuinely lives up to its real-life counterpart. It's nimble, it's tight, and it feels like it's made for winding mountain roads or city circuits. The top speed is about 123 miles, or about 198 k's, putting it solidly in the upper tier of sports cars. Combine that with how fun it is to drive, and this could easily become a daily driver for a lot of players. The final verdict? Well, if you're a fan of the Sentinel lineage, the GTS is an easy buy. It's fast, stylish, and walks the line between tuner flair and German precision. Just don't expect groundbreaking customization. This one's more about the drive than the dress up. The Karen Woodlander is one of those SUVs that looks like it should be parked out the front of a remote mountain lodge. Engine ticking, snow on the roof, but in reality it's usually hammering down Vinewood hills with a boot full of contraband and a 5-star wanted level. It's going for $1,611,000 over at Southern San Andreas Super Autos. And what you're getting is a bit of a twist on the usual off-road SUV. Rugged in looks, sure, but it's a lot more comfortable on bitumen than climbing cliffs. And if you're on console, next gen only, you can slap on the HSW upgrades too. So if you're running the big hardware, this thing can absolutely move. Visually, the Woodlander is boxy, beefy, and not even pretending to be sleek. It takes heavy inspiration from the Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro and the Subaru Forester. Tough lines, big tires, and the kind of stance that says, yes, I do own a camping fridge. It's not a looker, but it knows what it's about. And honestly, that kind of confidence goes a long way. Now, customization. That's where the Woodlander really comes into its own. You've got stacks of options. There's grills, bumpers, and a frankly silly 20 different hoods. You want it clean and street ready? Easy. You want something that looks like it rolled out of a survivalist compound? Also doable. Spoilers though, yeah, those are a miss. They kind of stick out like a sore thumb on an otherwise well put together rig. Bit of an afterthought. Under the bonnet, it's rocking the all-wheel drive, and for an SUV this size, it handles pretty well. Still a bit of body roll, naturally. It's tall, it's heavy, but it stays planted and can carry decent speed through the corners. The turning circle's not brilliant, but you're not driving a tugboat either. Top speed clocks in at 112.5 miles per hour or just over 181 k's, which is pretty respectable for something with the aerodynamics of a shipping container. Off-road though? Yeah, nah, don't get your hopes up. It's got the looks, but the lowered stance and the city-tuned suspension means it's more of an urban explorer than a rock crawler. Gravel driveway or flat beach at best. So the final verdicts? The Woodlander's not trying to be the flashiest or the fastest or the most meta SUV in your garage. But if you're into off-road roleplay, building up an SUV collection, or you just want something tough that still photographs well, it's a solid pick. Rugged, customizable, and a bit ridiculous in the best way. The Western police bike rolls in with sirens blazing and a price tag that will make your Maze Bank app crash. At an eye-watering $4,960,000, it's one of the most expensive motorcycles in the entire game, and it doesn't even come with a ticket book. This is GTA Online's first police motorbike that you can actually own, and it looks like it's been ripped straight out of an LSPD chase cutscene. Flashing lights, yep, police livery, of course, authority complex, almost guaranteed. Customization's surprisingly solid for something that's meant to look official. You've got proper law enforcement livery options, you can throw on some panniers or storage boxes, and the crash bars even come with police lights. Nice touch. The real surprise? 8 different emergency lights set up. So despite the uniform look, there's actually flair to be played with. Performance-wise, this thing is quick. It accelerates hard and feels surprisingly nimble for something that looks like it should be escorting a motorcade. You're not getting sports bike agility, no wheelie wizard here, but it's far from sluggish. Top speed hits 156.57 miles per hour, so that's just over 252 kilometers, I think. And thanks to a speed glitch, it can easily go even faster than that. Handling's solid too, which makes it a proper weapon in chases or just mucking about in free roam. Final verdicts? Well, if you're into RP, cop cosplay, or just want something unique to roll up to a bike meet with, the Western police bike absolutely delivers. But unless you are really committed to law enforcement vibe, it's a hard one to justify at this price. Cool? Yeah, look, absolutely. Practical? Yeah, not so much. The overflood Suzume is what happens when GTA Online goes full future tech. This electric hypercar glides into the scene with sleek curves, zero engine noise, and a price tag that will vaporize your savings faster than it hits top speed. You are looking at $3,074,500, which lands firmly in the nosebleed territory. Design-wise, it's pure cyberpunk. The Suzume looks like something Elon Musk would design if he binge-watched anime for 48 hours straight. Aerodynamic body, rear light bar, no exhaust, and a minimalistic cabin that screams, I run on electrons and vibes. Customization-wise, surprisingly versatile for an EV. You get loads of hood options, aggressive splitters, and even some absolutely wild spoilers that give the Suzume a much edgier look. The interior trim mods are decent too, just enough flair without overdoing it. Even the trunk door can be painted, which gives you a more visual control than you'd expect from a minimalistic electric hypercar. Performance-wise, it's rear-wheel drive, so all you'll hear is tyres screeching as you launch off the line. You can even equip a lock-on jammer through the agency, which is a handy bonus if you're worried about guided missiles ruining your day. As you'd expect from an EV, acceleration is brutal. Instant torque, great grip, and it sticks to corners with real confidence. So if you're into clean design, next-gen performance, and don't mind the lack of a proper exhaust note, the overflowed Suzume is one of the most fun electric cars in GTA Online. It's not cheap unless you're on GTA Plus, but it's a worthy addition if you're building a high-tech garage. The D-Class Tampa GT rolls into GTA Online as a muscle car that is clearly trying to punch above its weight. It's sharp, aggressive, and definitely not the scrappy old Tampa we're used to. At $1,311,000, it's not what you'd call cheap, but this isn't your average junkyard beater either. It's a refined version of a classic platform, reworked with modern flair and proper street presence. Visually, the Tampa still keeps that unmistakable D-Class muscle car attitude. Big front end, classic proportions, but it's been tightened up even if it still looks a little bit like a gasser. It's got a more focused, purposeful look that feels like it belongs on a street circuit or parked up in a meet. Retro styling with modern aggression, and it finds a nice balance. Customization's actually really solid. It's HSW compatible for those on newer gen consoles or E&E, and there's a wide range of options to suit just about any build direction. You can even throw on roof racks to push that retro feel, and there's a huge list of spoilers to choose from. Rockstar didn't skimp here. You've got plenty to make the car your own without going full Fast and Furious. As for handling, it's rear-wheel drive and feels decent under pressure. It's quick for what it is, and it definitely puts the power down well. It'll pop a nice little wheelie off the line, sounds the part, and offers a more stable ride than you might expect from a muscle car in this price range. That said, the suspension can be a bit bouncy at higher speeds, so hitting a bump mid-corner can throw things off if you're not ready for it. Cornering's fine, not amazing, not terrible. It gets the job done, but don't expect precision. It's still a muscle car at heart, and you feel that weight when pushing it around tighter tracks or winding roads. Top speed comes in at 130.5 miles per hour or just over 210 Ks, which lands it comfortably in the middle of the muscle class pack. It's not blowing doors off, but it holds its own in the right hands. The final verdict, the Tampa GT isn't about wild stunts or record-breaking pace. It's a stylish, capable muscle car that brings a bit of polish to the old school platform. If you're building out a classic modern muscle garage, this is a solid addition. Good customization, decent performance, and a look that stands out without trying too hard. Definitely worth a look if you've got the cash to spare. The Minimus might be the most ironically named car in GTA Online because there's not much minimal about it other than how much excitement it brings. At $1,417,000, this compact sedan shows up with a price tag that says sporty, but a drive that says, close enough. It's clearly based on the Nissan Maxima, and Rockstar's done a fair job capturing that modern JDM sedan look. It's clean, but not exactly eye-catching. Visually, it lands somewhere between a daily driver and a mildly tuned street car. Smooth factory lines, a few body kit options, and a roof wing if you feel like pretending it's ready for track day. The front end has a slightly aggressive touch, but it stops short of anything that might turn heads. Customization's decent, you've got a few grille styles, and a surprisingly large number of hood choices for a car this tame, and even interior trim options. There are 25 spoiler options, yes, 25, which is probably more than this thing deserves. Still, it's a good base for subtle builds, even if the results aren't exactly spectacular. Now, the Minimus is rear-wheel drive, not front-wheel, despite what its real-world inspiration might suggest. That means it's got a bit more bite under throttle and just enough movement in the back end to keep things interesting. It's loud, like very loud, and yes, it spits flames, so it sounds fast, even if it isn't. Handling's okay, it's not twitchy, it's not particularly sharp, but serviceable. The car's got some oversteer tendencies, but nothing dramatic. Suspension can feel a bit floaty at times, and it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence if you're pushing it hard. Top speed hits 115 miles per hour or just over 185 Ks. Not bad for a sedan, but far from impressive. It'll keep up in traffic, but it's not going to win any drag races. So final verdicts, the Annis Minimus has a good set of customization options, makes a lot of noise, and sits nicely in the it's fine category. It's not fast, not flashy, and doesn't really do anything exceptionally well, but if you're into modern JDM styling and want something a bit different, it's an okay pick. Otherwise, give it a miss. The Annis Hardy might just be the most under the radar car in the entire DLC. It sits quietly in the sedan class, priced at $1,380,000, and is clearly aimed at players who want to slide through corners without the shouty looks of a sports coupe. At first glance, it's got that clean, everyday commuter vibe, nothing too flash. But start modding it and things get interesting pretty quickly. It's heavily based on the Nissan Laurel, and the styling absolutely leans into that early 90s Japanese sedan look. Boxy, retro, and just a little bit tough around the edges. If you're into old school JDM cars with a bit of street presence, the Hardy ticks quite a few boxes. Customization's decent, not overwhelming, but enough to build something with personality. You've got some slick livery options, decent bumper kits, and a handful of tidy hood choices. Add in some subtle fenders and skirts, and it gives the car a clean, lowered stance without going full Tokyo Auto Salon. There are plenty of spoiler options too, but the car still keeps that understated vibe. Doesn't beg for attention, and that's kind of the point. Performance-wise, this one's rear-wheel drive and properly set up for sliding. The balance is spot on, making it feel natural to initiate and hold a drift, even if you're not a pro. There's definitely some oversteer, but that's the good kind. Predictable and smooth, not wild and chaotic. Now, it is built for speed. The top speed is around 128.25 miles an hour, or just over 206 k's. Respectable, but nothing that breaks record. Then again, the Hardy's not meant for drag strips. It shines in off-camber corners, down the city, or up vine-ridden hills at 3 in the morning. Oh, and if you add the taxi livery to it, which I've done here, it is absolutely gorgeous. You can also use it for taxi missions, which makes sense when you consider what it is and the top speed. The final verdict, the Annis Hardy is a proper sleeper. A low-key tuner weapon wrapped in a commuter body. If you're into JDM culture and want something that handles brilliantly without drawing a crowd, this one's worth a look. Just don't expect to win many straight line races. Okay, on to the yet to be released machines at the time of recording. So the MTL Custom Flatbed. You've seen it in traffic, you've used it in missions, you've probably even tried dragging it back to your garage at some point only to be greeted with the classic, "This vehicle cannot be stored" message. Well, good news, that's finally changed. Rockstar's giving us the green light to actually own the custom flatbed, and honestly, I kinda can't believe it took them this long. This thing's been lurking around forever. It's the massive flatbed truck we've all driven during supply runs, VIP work, or as unwilling backup in some low-level contracts. It's basically that one co-worker who never talks but somehow knows everything. And to be clear, this isn't the plain old flatbed, this is the custom variant, complete with safety railings on the tray, which strongly suggests you can stand or ride in the back. So yes, prepare for absolute meme chaos in free mode. In real life, it's based on the 2004 Freightliner Century Class 112, and in GTA it looks every bit the part. Big, boxy, and utterly unapologetic. It is an absolute unit. Now here's the kicker. When it eventually drops as part of the moneyfronts drip feed, you'll be able to buy it outright. No Pegasus, no special event, no dodgy workarounds. Just call it in like any other personal vehicle, park it in your garage, and rock up to car meets in full construction chic. Of course, there is a catch. This thing cannot be customized. Not even a little. No paint, no wheels, no horns, no stacks, nothing. And to be honest, it probably wouldn't fit inside LS Customs anyway. Which is, yeah, a bit of a letdown. I was hoping for at least a novelty horn or some traffic cone accessories. But performance-wise, well, it's about what you'd expect from a truck that looks like it eats post-oppressor scooters for breakfast. It's slow, like really slow. The top speed comes in at a whopping 77 miles an hour, or just under 124 k's. And it handles like a cruise ship that's lost its rudder. But that's not why you get this thing. Where the flatbed shines is in chaos. Like, it's heavily, properly heavy. Ram 5 cars off the road, barely notice. And once this beast gets rolling, it plows through traffic like it's late for a pipe laying job on the freeway. So is it worth it? Well, if you're an OG player who spent years asking why can't I just own this bloody truck, then yeah, it's a hilarious, nostalgic addition to the collection. But if you're strapped for cash and you actually need a performance utility, maybe give it a miss. It's a meme machine, nothing more and nothing less. The D-Class Drift Walton L35 is one of those vehicles that makes you stop, tilt your head a bit and go, right, but why though? Now, to be fair, it is a good looking ute. The stance is clean, the proportions are tidy, and there is no giant lift kit or obnoxious bull bars in sight. It is easy on the eyes. But here's the thing, it's a drift-focused version of what is clearly based on a 91 to 93 Chevy S10. Same platform as the lifted Walton L35 and the stock one that drops in this DLC. A real-world workhorse, sturdy, reliable, and takes a hit and keeps going. So turning it into a purpose-built drift machine, it's a bit odd. Like, not bad necessarily. There are real-life S10 drift builds that absolutely shred. But still, it's kind of like turning a Swiss Army knife into a dedicated bottle opener. Like, you can do it, but should you? This one's coming through the moneyfronts drip feed, priced at $1,403,750 from Southern San Andreas Super Autos. And despite being in the off-road class, this thing is not built for dirt, like at all. Compared to the stock Walton, this version has been slammed, stiffened, and tuned exclusively for tarmac. There's no off-road conversion, no alternative nodes, just drift handling all the time. It's sideways or nothing. Customization's actually alright. Like, you've got loud liveries, beefy bumpers, vented hoods, side skirts, and even proper interior mods like race seats and roll cages. The bonnet options in particular are nicely varied. Plenty of room for a creative build if that's your thing. Driving wise, surprisingly solid. It's easier to handle than some of the older drift builds, like say the Tampa Drift, which would spin out if you looked at it sideways. The Drift Walton's a bit more forgiving. It breaks traction easy, but not wildly unpredictable. If you're new to drifting or want a bit of fun without needing a pro setup, this is a really good place to start. That said, let's not kid ourselves. Turning a humble pickup into a drift toy still feels a bit forced. It's fun, it's different, but was it really necessary? Debatable. Top speed comes in at 82.64 miles an hour or 133 kilometers an hour flat, which is honestly not bad for a drift build. But again, it's not about the speed, it's about sliding through the corners, leaving a trail of rubber, and wondering how your tradie ute turned into a track weapon. Final verdict, the Drift Walton L35 is quirky, capable, and very much built for a specific crowd. If you've got a drift garage and want something a little offbeat, it'll slot in nicely. But if you're more about clean builds or actual off-roading, this one's probably not for you. Right, and that just about wraps it up for the roundup of the latest shiny wheels, weird units, and wallet-draining memes from the Money Fronts DLC. From sideway utes and wannabe cop bikes to hyper-futuristic EVs and trucks that handle like a shopping trolley full of bricks. We've pretty much seen it all this update. Some of them are keepers, some of them driveway fillers, and others, well, let's just say they're an aesthetic choice. So, what's your favourite new ride? Or better yet, what's your biggest rip-off in the whole lineup? Drop your picks in the comments because I've got a strong feeling the Bobcat is about to start a few arguments. If you're keen to see which business pairs well with all these new wheels, or just want to know where to stash your cash next, check out the video up top for another deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates, car reviews, and a whole lot more questionable spending decisions in GTA Online. Stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you in the next one.